Hello, this is Raziel Cohen with ndftraining.com, and today we're going to be talking about the only time it's appropriate to take a knee. So we're talking about taking a knee during the use of cover. If you get into a gunfight and you have to drop down, whether it be to reload or to lower your profile and be able to engage around the target, there are a few different methods of how to take a knee. Now, this is something that was debated amongst a few instructors of different classes I've taken at, but this is going to be ultimately different versions that you could decide what would be best for you. Now, there are two parts to this argument. The first part is which knee do you have down when you're protruding outside of cover. So just for this demonstration, we're going to imagine that this is a wall that goes all the way up just to make things easier. Now, the best method I've been taught is that you want to keep the knee down that's going to be the knee protruding. So if I'm protruding outside of a right side piece of cover, I want to put my right knee down to be able to make sure that I'm minimizing exposure. The reason is that if I have my right knee up, very often people will accidentally have their right knee protrude out of cover, which means they get exposed too early, and that's obviously a problem. So I usually teach having your right knee down or the knee that you're going to be protruding from down. Now, the second part is about your ankle actually. It's talking about, should you have your ankle up with your toes touching the ground, or should you have it flattened out? The reasons why I've heard for both is that if your toes are touching the ground, which means you're up, that gives you the ability to take off running much faster. The downside to that is potentially, I've heard that when law enforcement was hiding behind cars and using cars as cover, that they've had an instance where a larger guy would be walking by and end up stepping on their ankle and could end up breaking. Versus if your ankle was flat, then it could reduce the likeliness, but it also makes it a little bit harder to get up and move. So that's something that will ultimately be up to you to make that decision. So just as a summary, there are two different ways you're able to take a knee. One is using the side you're going to be protruding from cover and putting that knee down, or keeping it up. I usually prefer to keep the side that I'm protruding on down because it reduces the exposure. The other two things to take into account is whether you're going to have your ankle up or ankle down. The pros and cons are ankle up usually means you could get up and move much faster, but you're adding risk of potentially having someone step on it and potentially it breaking. For me, that's never really been a concern, and that's never really been the kind of environments that I've been in. So I've usually been training with my ankle up. But if you're someone in law enforcement who might be in that kind of situation, it's just something you might want to take into account to see if that's something worth looking into. This is Raziel Cohen with ndftraining.com. Thank you for watching.